Whew, groundbreaking. I don't want you guys to quit on the Most High. Okay? Trust me, you don't want to do that. You do not want to quit on him. Okay? So, like King Dawid has said, he said, you know what? Um, I don't want anyone else to be put to shame because of me. I don't want anyone to, be rejected because of me and because of some of the things that I have said. Or I don't want anyone to walk away from the Most High um, because of anything that I have done or said. Okay. And I want you to verify everything that I'm telling you. Okay. I'm not trying to make this spooky. I'm not trying to make it mysterious. What I'm trying to get you to understand is there's a concerted effort in order to lie to us about what's going on, and it changes the narrative. So let's go ahead and get into the teaching. Um, Share my screen with you right quick. Put that down, put that up. Here we are. Let me get rid of myself. No photo of me. And we're going to get started. All right. Question is, can you see the screen?
Yes.
All
Yes.
right. Awesome. All right, everyone. So listen, the name of our Torah portion this week is "And He Appeared." Throughout time, you and I have been told that you know, the Most High has made certain appearances on the earth, and He's come down in different forms. Some people think that He came down as an angel, or what they would call a malach. Some people think that He came down as a man. Some people think that He actually wrestled with Jacob. Some people really truly believe that they've had an actual experience with the Creator. And and so this idea of him appearing is something that we're all interested in. We're humankind, we're a species, and we want to have an encounter with him, right? And sometimes we want to have an encounter with him based on our own terms. And what we're going to find today is that it's not going to be on our terms. It's not going to be on our terms. All right. Let's begin with talking about what the word or the Torah portion about "and he appeared." The word that's being used for "he appeared" is this word called re'eh. Okay. This is your Hebrew word. And again, I want to recommend that all of you would have a pen and paper because you need to write this down. Okay. And again, the language is so important. It truly is. I can't stress that enough. So, as you can see, each one of those letters, they have a name and they all represent something. Okay. You said, well, Akika, I didn't sign up for a Hebrew class, so I don't know why you keep going over this. I keep going over this, everyone, because it is vital to your survival. Because if you don't understand what's being said and how it's being said, then you can be misdirected and you can actually have a different opinion. You can have our imaginations will go wild. You could start creating a different narrative that's not necessarily true. So the first letter that you have there is a resh. Okay. It's a R in English, right? But in Hebrew it's called the resh. And as you can see, the letter looks the way it does, and it's the head of a tribe. That's what it means. It means the head of a family. It means a leader, the beginning, the first, the father. These are all the things that the Resh actually represents. The next one is called an Aleph, which we go over all the time. This letter is the first letter in the Hebrew alphabet, and it has all these different ideas that surround the ox, the strength, the authority, leadership, guidance, counsel, and teaching. And of course, the hey. I know I sound like I'm going a little fast here because I'm just too excited about getting to what we really need to get to. But I wanted to give you a backdrop on what does the word a mean, okay? And so here are the letters agriculturally what they mean. It means to lift up the hands. The hey does, it means to look at a great sight. And so we can see that each one of the Hebrew letters actually applies to some part of our life or some way that we move or something that someone is doing, right? So we use all of our senses when we're talking about, our guidance, our teaching. We have to use our ears, we have to use our eyes, we have to, be under the leadership of someone. We have to look at things, we have to see things, we have to be receptive to it. Okay. And so basically, this means to see. That's what the a means. That is the action of the word, right? So when we read that and he appeared, you're thinking, well, he saw something, right? Obviously, he saw something and something appeared, and it also means a vision. So we have to look at how this actually works in the Hebrew scriptures. Okay, so we can't take English for face value, and I'm going to show that to you. Okay, but there are several things that we're seeing. And that's pretty much the theme of our Torah portion this week is what does someone see or what do they perceive or what appears unto them? And so the question would be is like, okay, what did Sarah see? What did she perceive? Did she perceive anything? Did Avimelech the king in chapter number 20, 20, yeah, chapter 20, what did he see? What appeared to him? What appeared to him in chapter number 21 and chapter number 20? What did Abraham perceive? And of course, in your Haftarah, we have Elisha, which is one of the prophets, meaning Elohim hears my cry. What did he see or what did he perceive? Okay. So someone tell me, what did Sarah perceive? What is something that you believe that she perceived? If you read your Torah portion this week, she perceived something.
That she was too old to bear any child.
Great. That's number one. What else did she perceive? Someone else, especially one of the sisters. Akayot. What did she perceive? Why did she send Hagar's son away? And so Hagar.
That her son might lose his position or his place.
Very true. Yes, she said he's not going to rule. And she saw something. The son was mocking Isaac when he just got weaned. So she recognized this. Okay, so she perceived that. Avimelech, the king of Gagar, he had a perception about some things, and him and his commander Pichol came to Abraham, and he was able to perceive that the Most High was with Abraham, and he perceived that things would go well for Abraham, and it's possible that later on he and his family or his tribe or his people might not be so kind to them. He had a perception about that, and there's things that he didn't perceive. Okay. Uh, and also there's things that you can perceive and there's things that you really can't perceive. What did Abraham perceive? Give me an idea. What did he see?
That the Almighty's word would not come back void.
Okay, the Almighty's word would not come back void. He also perceived that the Most High would not do a bad judgment. Remember, he said, far be it from the judge of all the earth to do something that's not just. And when he's talking about Sodom and Gomorrah, so there's different things and that's the idea behind the Torah portion. And you might ask yourself, well, why are we talking about this? Because I wasn't there. This doesn't apply to me. I hear this all the time from people. How does this apply, Akika? Because you're talking about back in the past, and this is thousands and thousands of years ago. And how does this work for us today? Well, there are some things that you will perceive. There's some things you will see, and there's some things that you won't see. Okay, and some things are going to be clear, and some things aren't. And like Elisha, in the Haftarah, when the woman came to him, he did not know what was bothering her. And he said, the Most High hasn't revealed it to me. He hasn't caused me to understand it. So there's even things that the prophets weren't able to see. Okay. So that's the idea. That's the theme. Okay. So we know that also too, like not only for Abraham, but also for Lot, that individuals had appeared unto them. He said he raised his eyes and looked. Yes, Mashal.
I noticed that when I was reading, I noticed that the Most High referred to Abraham as a prophet too.
Yes, absolutely. He called him a prophet. And he was able to pray for Avimelech and, so he wouldn't be killed, right? So he is a prophet. So that means that he was able to receive information. And that's huge about what you just said, because he's just not an ordinary man. The Most High called him a prophet. Okay. And he allowed him to pray on behalf of Avimelech. So Abraham, by definition, is the first prophet that's ever mentioned. First time, first mention. Okay. The appearance here is the three men that appeared to him. So he ran out and to meet them and he prostrated himself on the ground. I want you to remember that. He prostrated himself. So if he prostrated himself, it's kind of like combing his own hair. It's like a hithpael, right? Remember, we've been talking about things that you cause yourself to do. So the narrative that it appears to us that he actually caused himself to fall on the ground when he saw these men. Correct? Isn't that the understanding? Yes? No?
Correct. Yes, that's correct.
Yes, yes. So he prostrated. So when he saw these men, he ran outside and he saw them and he ran up to them and he fell on the ground and he prostrated himself. And a lot of people take that and say, oh, that's because he recognized that one of them was the Elohim, was Yohe. So that's why he did it. Okay, the third part is that to A means that it's possible, it's not out of question that it was a vision. Okay, therefore return the man's wife now, for he is a prophet, like Mishal just mentioned, and he will pray for you that you will live. But if you don't return her now, know that you will certainly die, you and all who belong to you. When I read this, forgive me, I kind of laughed because the Most High threatened this man. He threatened Abimelech, the king, and he called Abraham a prophet. Okay. So the question is, do prophets see the Most High or do they have visions?
You implying that they seeing a vision.
Yes.
Not
So prophets have visions. They have dreams and visions. That's how the Most High talks to prophets. He talks to them through dreams and visions. So when we look at Abraham, remember, we're here to learn. When he called Abraham a prophet, he's qualifying him to say that he is one who receives messages from Yohe. Okay, so keep that in mind. Mashal brought that out, but here it is, Mashal. You didn't even know it was in the slide. Okay, just keep that in mind. So perception is important. Okay, but as you notice, this screen now is getting a little darker, right? The only reason why it's darker because we need light in order to see the details of what something truly is. So perception is subjective. It really depends on what it is that you're seeing and what you think you're seeing. Often the things that we're looking at is not really what it is. That's Mashalo.
I was gonna say it really depends if you wear glasses or not. But no, your creativity,
Yeah,
the creativity in your mind.
yeah, it's perception. It's not always reality. Got it? So what I'm trying to get us to understand is that we're not in the Torah portions just so we can read and just read it and set it to the side and take some notes and have some great Bible stories. Okay. The perception is not always what it appears to be. And I want to show you that. Okay. The first thing I want to bring out to you is that it says that the matter distressed Abraham greatly in context, talking about what his wife told him that she wanted him to do. And uh, for it concerned a son of his, meaning Ishmael. He was upset at the fact that this happened. But again, the English language said the matter distressed him. So we're thinking that he was just upset by it, right? He was just upset. He didn't know how to handle it. And it bothered him. But that's not what the Hebrew says. The Hebrew says that this was evil. This word right here is evil. And you can see in English, it doesn't even mention evil. This thing right here that his wife had asked him was very evil, me'od. It was very evil in his ba'enai, his eyes. It was very evil in his eyes what Sarah had asked him to do. And the reason why it was evil to him is because he didn't understand it. So what appears to be something to us is not necessarily what it is. Get what I'm saying? Like, for example, the Most High tells him, don't worry about it. Do what she told you to do. He talked to him and told him, listen to your wife in this matter. You understand? So what we see as being bad and what we see as being evil is not necessarily true. Sometimes the Most High is using things that appear to be evil to us in order to bring about what he wants to bring about. So you can see that the Most High is in charge of this. So even though Sarah said, "Hey, I see this," she perceived this, that came from somewhere. And where it came from is the Most High was directing her and how she felt. Okay. Just like the Most High said to Avimelech, he said, "I'm a righteous man. I haven't done anything wrong." He said, "I haven't even touched the woman." He said, "Yeah, I understand that you are upright in your own heart, but I'm the one who caused you not to touch her." So what's perceived is not necessarily so. There's always something behind it. And that's how we have to look at life. So what appears to be evil in our life may not be evil, it might be very beneficial. Okay. For example, if Abraham didn't send his boy away, then of course, then the fulfillment of what the Malak of Yahweh told Hagar when she ran away, that this boy was going to grow up and he's going to be a hunter in the wilderness, may have never happened the way that the Most High wanted it to happen to direct his life. See, so everything is cause and effect. So the Most High allows things to happen to us in order to bring us to the place that we need to be in order for we can become what He wants us to become. And this is for His people. So you're not just an afterthought. You're not just here on this earth just to exist. There is a plan and a purpose behind your life. And even the evil, you can look it up in Hebrew, Ra, this evil that you think it is, it could be very evil. Me'od means very, very evil. Okay. This thing in your eyes and how you perceive it and what you think is not necessarily true. That's what I want to bring to your attention. So you can see in the English language, they kind of minimize what it is. So we don't get the full understanding. Okay. Yes, Akoti Pam.
I just wanted to say that I am constantly amazed by the delicate way Yahweh controls our lives, even giving us the impression that we're in control ourselves. But
Girl,
when
yo, you almost made me say something. Yes. I called you, girl. Do you understand that? Like, okay, we see things in our lives and be like, "Oh, this is terrible. This is
Mhm.
horrible that happened to me." And the Most High says, "I did that to you because this is what's going to happen for you later." For I'll use myself as an example. When I used to be a multi-franchise owner and I had a whole bunch of money, a whole bunch of businesses, things were going well with me. And I thought, this is my life. I made it, right? And all of a sudden now my mother dies and then I become disabled. My spine almost died and all kind of stuff. A whole bunch of bad stuff has happened to me. Terrible things, bad. I'm crying, I'm not mad, I'm upset, I'm disappointed. And then now that I'm in my life and I'm going through it, I can see that his hand was with me the whole time. He's actually made my life better.
Mhm.
I was upset because I can't eat certain foods anymore because I have, gout and, pre-diabetes and all this. And he's like, "Hey, I thought the changes were bad. The changes are good. They're
Yes.
good for me." Sister
Mhm.
Sharon.
Reading today how Joseph told his brothers that the Most High intended for him to come to Egypt. Like, even though they might have thought we are the ones that made all this happen, like that was part of the plan for
Yes.
him to go to this place. So you're right. It's true. We don't realize that the things that happen to us have a greater purpose than what we see and think.
Yes. That's why I darkened the screen because it's not what it appears to be. We need light, and that's what the Torah provides. It provides light for us to be able to understand and see things differently, right? So we're looking at it as evil, we're looking at it as terrible, and the Most High Himself is working on our behalf in front of the situation, right? So we're thinking exile is bad. I think exile is the best thing that ever could have happened to us as a people. It was about time for us to make these adjustments and these changes. It's the best thing that could ever happen to us. So we shouldn't be really crying about it in the sense that we're upset that it happened. We need to thank the Most High that it did happen because it means that our time of suffering is almost over. We're just going through the motion, right? So let's be appreciative for the bad things that have happened. That's something different than what's being pushed. What's being pushed to us is that God had nothing to do with it. He has everything to do with everything. Okay. Now, going back to the idea about him prostrating himself on the ground, right? And I have it here in Hebrew, and I'm going to break this down for you because I want you to see that what appears to be is not necessarily so. Okay. Prostrating of himself means he caused himself to go on the ground. And he bowed down because these three men, of course, they think that one of them is God, showed up. And that's not true. Okay. So I'm going to don't let the Hebrew here scare you. Okay. Um, I'm going to teach you something. All right. So I want you to look at these letters and I'm going to show them to you right quick. Okay. So I don't know Hebrew, Akika. So why? Come on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this word down for you. Just this one word. I just ask you to bear with me for this one word. This word right here means ground. It's called arza. Okay. I don't want to get into that. Okay. Because that's what that is. It's the ground. Okay. But the prostrating right here, himself, that they're saying it's himself, this is the word for prostrating down here. Okay. That's the word. So we're going to break down that word, this word here, and we're going to find out what it is and whether or not he prostrated himself. That's what we want to know, because it's directing us and it's giving us a narrative that we've been listening to for years and years and years, and we accepted it as being true. Well, let's find out. All right. I want to teach you something about, and it's simple. Don't let all the words and everything get you scared and I don't know what this means. Don't forget about all that. This is easy. Okay. A child can understand this. This letter 3 here means third person. Okay. And we only have three individuals we're talking about. We have first person, second person, and we have a third person. Okay. First person is you. That's the person who's talking. Like right now, I'm first person. I'm talking. And I'm talking to you right now on the other side. And so this, okay. So I wrote you, forgive me. Um, First person is me or I. Okay. I'm talking to you. You're the second person I'm having a conversation with. So I don't want to know Hebrew grammar. You got to know grammar in order to understand what's written so you'll understand what's being said. Okay. Third person is someone of he, or it could be she. Is someone who's not in the conversation. We're talking about them. Like right now, we're talking about Abraham. Is he here right now? No. So we're talking about him. Okay. So it could be a him, it could be he, it could be she, it could be her, right? These pronouns. And also, too, if it's plural, we could be talking about they or them. Okay. And because it's plural. So we have singular and we have plural. One versus many. Okay. So they or them. So the way that that word right there is written, okay, in this third person future tense, it's about an action that they're going to do. Generally in Hebrew, everyone, they have a root that we talked about, and the root is always going to be three letters. Okay, so just don't try to memorize these letters here. Don't even trip off of this, because they're just transliterating, saying, oh, this letter right here is the K, this letter right here is the T, this letter right here is the L. That's all that is. Okay, so we're not concerned with that. What we're concerned with is trying to figure out how does a future tense work, because in our Hebrew, in our Torah portion this week, it said that he had prostrated himself. Okay. But that's not what it says. Okay. It actually says that they prostrated themselves. Okay. Right. So the way that we find out, just to make everything simple, is that there in Hebrew, there's patterns that will tell you if something is a third person masculine plural, or if something is a third person masculine singular, right? If it's just talking about one person or it's talking about many, okay? It'd tell you these things. So the Hebrew letters pretty much tell you what something is. That's my point, okay? So the two letters that we're going to look at is the yod right here and the u right here. In between those two letters is what they call the root. Okay. And a root is three letters. That's basically what it is. Okay. And so forget about the name of this and all that kind of stuff. I don't care about all that. I just want you to know what the pattern looks like. So the pattern for a third person masculine plural is going to be a yod, and at the end, and then you have the root right here. I'm going to put a box, and that'll be three letters. And then you're going to have a wa at the end. So basically the pattern is a yod and a u on the end. That's the pattern. So anytime you see a yod and a u, right? Anytime you see this letter in the front and this letter in the back of a root, then you will know that it's third person masculine singular. I mean, third person masculine plural. Let me give a little bit more information. All right. So again, in Hebrew, the element of the word is what they call a prefix, will be the what's in front, and then you have the root, and then you have the suffix. Okay. So prefix, everyone knows what a prefix is because they went to elementary school. It's the first word or letter that's attached to another word. So this is a prefix. Okay. And this is the suffix. And then the word that we need to be concerned with is the root word. And in this case, this means to kill, but we're not talking about that right now. Okay. So at the end of the day, it's going to look like this. So you'll have the prefix right here in the front and you'll have the suffix in the back. And again, this tells you that it's a third person masculine plural. Okay. That's what it tells you. Yes, Sister Sharon.
So is that like where it says Eloheinu is like our God? Like
Yes.
the
Okay.
okay.
That is a but that is a noun versus a verb, right?
Okay.
So Eloheinu is our Elohim, is talking about he's our Elohim. It's not telling you an action, it's just telling you a noun. Okay.
Okay.
So this is talking about a verb. Okay. So this is a root right here. This is a verb. That means to kill. That's what that means. Okay. In this in particular diagram that we have. Right. But I just want you to know what the form looks like. So what we'll see is we'll see a yod in the front and we'll see a u on the back. And that'll tell us that it's not talking about an individual, but it's talking about more than one individual. And let me give you an example. All right. So in our Torah portion, it said that he prostrated himself and was talking about Abraham. Okay. What we have here is the idea of this conjunction, which means and. That wa right here means and. And then this right here tells us, this letter says is 3ms, which is anytime it's by itself, it means a third person masculine singular. The reason why it becomes plural is because they add this u sound on the end. Okay. That's what it means. Okay. So what I discovered in a Torah this week is that it's not talking about Abraham bowed down and fell on the ground and prostrated himself. When Abraham came out, everyone, those men fell down and prostrated themselves. They didn't worship him. They fell down on their face to the ground. Okay. And they prostrated themselves. Okay. This is our word that is in our Torah this week. Hold on, let me go back. This is our word that's in our Torah portion. So we have the yod in front. We have a root of our word called shetach, and then we have the u on the end. Okay. And this is what it looks like. It's a yod, a sheen, a tav, and a kate, and a u. So it's yishtachu, yishtachu. Okay. So what it's telling us is not that Abraham did this because he's not a third person masculine plural. He is a third person masculine singular. If Abraham did this by himself, it would have been a hithpael. So instead of it being, the yeesh right here, it would have been yod and a tav. That is a yeet. That means it would be something he did on himself, right? And this u right here wouldn't even exist. That would be gone. Okay. So it would have been yeet shakat, takat. It wouldn't have been this yeesh shaku. Okay. It wouldn't have been this. So when I found this out, and the way that I found it, everyone, was that this week I decided not only to read it in Hebrew, but also to write it. And when I began to write it, then I found it. And then I looked at it, and there's a whole bunch of other places that tells you words that, hey, these are third person masculine plurals, and they have the same vowel pattern. That's what I'm trying to tell you. They have the same pattern. So when we look at this word in your Hebrew, you have never seen it, because if you don't read Hebrew, you'll never catch it. So what they've been telling us is that Abraham is the one who prostrated to the ground, and that's not true. Those men prostrated themselves to the ground. But what does this mean for us? Why is this groundbreaking? Well, because it changes the narrative. Okay, the narrative is that one of those men are the Most High, and that he came down to be a man. That's what the narrative is, and it's saying that those three men were there, and all of a sudden, two of them. They didn't say in our Torah portion that two left and went down to Sodom and Gomorrah, because the word that's used for the individuals who went to Sodom and Gomorrah are Malachim. They're not Anashim. Okay, they're not men. So I mean, they are men, but they're classified as Malachim. So then the question is asked: then, if these men prostrated themselves, if they're the ones who prostrated themselves, then that tells you right there that the Most High is not a human being, because the Most High would never prostrate himself to the ground. That's number one. He's not a human being. See, so this changes the narrative. This changes what we've been told, right? So the story changes. It's not Abraham saw them, he ran out, he fell on his face to the ground. No, it didn't happen like that. They came, I mean, he came out and they prostrated themselves on the ground. And then you ask yourself the question, why? Why did they prostrate themselves on the ground? Were they showing, obeisance to Abraham, or were they worshiping him, or were they showing him was this a cultural thing, or what was it? The fact is, he told them, hey, come eat. Let me get something for you. Let me wash your feet. Let me, settle yourselves under here. Take a rest. Don't pass on by until I show you this hospitality. Right? Yes, Michelle.
Okay, I don't know if it's too soon. But I think just for the sake of understanding, for the class to understand what you're saying, um when the our this whole portion is riddled with action words that are prefixed and suffixed with what Akika is showing us. So the act of bowing is not just the only word. The act of eating, and they ate, and they said, and there are many words that are prefixed and suffixed with with these letters, and for the most part, they are translated correctly, except when it comes to Abraham and Lot, because it says that Lot bowed to his face as well.
Mm-hmm. No, you weren't too soon. So tell the class why you did that.
Well, when I realized, when you showed me, you gave me a little hint and showed me that, I was like, okay, that's weird. So I went and throughout the whole Torah portion, 18, 19, 20, 21, and I was just how you say, scrolling or
Scouring. Yeah,
scouring
scouring. Uh-huh.
scouring through the Hebrew words, just looking for words that were prefixed and suffixed with the with these letters, the wa and the shin. I mean, the wa and the yod.
Uh-huh.
And I would stop and read the English translation and see what they translated it to be. And for the most part, most of them were translated correctly in the third person masculine plural, except for the words that Akika's showing us, Waishtaku,
Mm-hmm.
when it was used for Abraham,
And
and
for
when it was
Lot.
used for Lot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So thank you. So what we're seeing, and what he's saying is, when he went through the Torah portion, because I was showing him like, hey, this is what we found, right? And so you can verify what I'm saying by looking at all the other verbs and their actions, and they're all identical with the yod and the wa at the end. That's the prefix and suffix with those same identical letters. So then the question comes up, then why did they translate this like this? Why did they do that? And the reason why they translated it this way is because they're preparing people in order to justify the existence of Christ being a man, and making that him saying that he's God, and he came in a likeness of a human body. And I'm going to show that to you. because that's the whole reason why, right? Because they have an agenda. All right. So that's the part that I wanted to bring out to you about what you can see and what's perceived, right? Yes, Michelle.
Yeah,
Kel.
no, I didn't raise my hand again.
Okay, Kel.
Yeah, I'm hearing what you're saying, Akika and Mashal, and I just wanted to say, like, if we're finding this in this Torah portion, then I would think that possibly this could be scattered throughout, like, a lot of places, different places in our Torah portions, and not just this one, correct?
Exactly. Well, as you noticed, we found last week that they said that Abraham believed, like he's the one who did it on himself, and that wasn't true. So they changed the verb tense. It went from that they changed it, or they didn't tell us that they wrote it in English like he did it himself, like he did this on himself, like he's the one who came up with a belief system. And that's not true. Like, because he's the one, because he believed, he got considered to be righteous. That's not true. The Most High caused him to become righteous, or caused him to believe in order to declare him righteous so he can go into a covenant with him. Remember, he gave him the covenant. Abraham didn't walk through those pieces, only the Most High went through those pieces. So the covenant is not based upon a performance, because in any covenant that's made, is between two parties. And when those two parties go through the pieces, we have examples like Jacob and his uncle when they went through the pieces. We have Avimelech and Abraham where they go through the pieces. And they're saying, just like what happened to this animal, like we slaughtered these animals and we walk between their pieces, let that happen to whoever doesn't keep their end of the covenant. So when Most High made the covenant between himself and Abraham, he's put him to sleep. He put him in a deep sleep and he went through the pieces by himself, saying that this covenant is not contingent upon anything that you or your descendants can do in order for me not to give you this promise. It's not based on performance. So that's what I said. If it was based on performance, then that could be challenged, because people can challenge his righteousness by saying he lied to Abimelech, he lied to Pharaoh, he did this, he did that. They can question that. So our promise for the land and descendants is made to us based on the Most High's righteousness that he provided. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so here we're seeing that they're changing the verb tense so you can think that the Most High was standing there with Abraham, so that you can think that Abraham bowed himself down to, they would say, Christ of the New Testament, or to a Malach of Yahweh. And that's not what happened. They bowed down. So that changes everything. It reverses everything. So they bowed down. So the Most High doesn't bow to the ground. So when someone says, "Oh, that's right, Christ, if he came down, what about Genesis chapter number 18, where God came down and he talked when he was there? Well, who was that?" And then they would say it was Christ. This destroys that narrative, because Abraham didn't bow down. They bowed down. So then you can say, well, did the Most High bow down to the ground? And so, what are you talking about? And you can show them that the translation and say, well, this has been mistranslated. Those individuals bowed down. What about the two Malaks that went down to Sodom and Gomorrah? What did they do? Lot ran out and he bowed down to them. No, he did not. They bowed down to the ground. Yes, Michelle.
Yeah, on that you just spoke on, verse chapter 19, verse the very first verse where it says that Lot ran out to meet them and he bowed down with his face to the ground. Well, if you look at the word waishtahu, and the following
Mhm.
word is apayim, the I and the M makes it plural. So I don't think that Lot had more than one face.
No, they put their faces to the ground, talking about, he's saying that when it talks about how they did and what did they prostrated themselves and they put their faces to the ground. So it tells us something about what Molochs do. It tells us something about what these Anashim, these men who came to visit Abraham, what they did. They were in the presence of the Most High and they bowed down to the earth. That's what they did. Do you understand? The Moloch, when they were sent on their mission, they said, we were sent. And you can look at the verb right there. Okay. It's talking about we were sent by the Most High. So they are showing reverence to the Most High, and they're letting us know that everything we're about to do and every encounter that's about to happen is of a divine order. So it tells us something about what we should understand about worship and what we need to understand about bowing and what we need to understand when it comes to us saying that we're coming in the presence of the Most High. There's an example. I don't have a slide here that talks about how the children of Israel, when Ezra came out of exile, he read the Torah to the children of Israel. And when they read the Torah, everyone fell on their face and they bowed down to the ground when they heard the Torah. They bowed down out of what? It was out of fear. You understand? For the Most High, right? Which we're going into right now. Okay. This makes a perfect segue. So what we're talking about is fear. Okay. This is part of your Torah portion. What's interesting about fear is that fear and yareh, meaning to see, are exactly the same letters. They're just spoken differently. They use exactly the same letters, and I'll show that to you. Okay. But before I show that to you, I want you to understand something. I had a conversation yesterday with a brother, great brother. He was talking about all these amazing things about what our people are able to do. Like we're the best singers, we're the best dancers, we're the best at this, we're the best. And of course, the Most High must be proud of us. He's impressed with us because we're so talented and we're so this and we're so that. And when he was saying these things, I brought the scripture up and I want to share with you today. He was thinking that the Most High is more concerned about our abilities than anything else, about how wonderful we are, how pretty we are, how beautiful we are, how strong we are, how muscular we are, how athletic we are, how smart we are. These are the things that we think the Most High is impressed with. The Most High is not impressed with these things. The Most High was not impressed with Abraham just running around trying to hurry up and prepare a meal for the three men. He's not impressed by him telling Sarah to go ahead, hurry up, Mahari, meaning telling her to hurry up and make these cakes, and telling the young man running down, and he's like 70 or 80 something years, no, 98 years old, 99 years old, running to go get a calf or some meat to be prepared and some bread and put in the curds and the milk and everything. We think that the Most High was impressed with the things that we do. And what we're finding is that's not what the Most High is really impressed with. That's not what the Most High takes pleasure in. The Most High takes pleasure in those who fear him and in those who wait for his grace. So we need to find out what it means to fear Yah. And it was all through our Torah portion. And I'm so thankful to be here because I'm able to share what I discovered. Okay. Now we're getting more light. Okay. The word for fear, it looks exactly like the word for yareh. Okay. The yod, the resh, and the aleph. Okay. It's called yareh. Okay. And of course, the yod, you know what that is. It's the hand, but it means to throw something. Right. The hand is used for work. It's used for throwing. In a grammatic sense, anytime you have, again, I told you it's the masculine singular. Here it is. He. That's 3ms. He will. He will do something. Future tense. That's when every time you see this letter in front of something, it means he will. Okay. That's what it means. Future tense. But it also means possession because you control things with your hand. Right. So you have possession of it. Like I'm a kika. Right. I'm your brother. Right. Yoresh. Going again, we know what the resh is. We talked about the resh. The resh is the head, it's the chief, right? But also remember that the head is a head of a man. Who is the head, the leader, the chief, the top, the summit, the first? He's the first. And of course, the aleph, again, we already know what that is. So I don't need to talk about that. But what we need to find out is how do we fear Yah? And what does it really mean? In our Torah portion, who was afraid? Sarah or Abraham?
Sarah.
Sarah, why was she afraid, Mashallah?
Well, because she lied.
Thank you. And she tried to deny it. Okay. Um, when the king of Avimelech, he asked Abraham, what did I do to you? What did I do to you for you to go ahead and bring this sin against me and my people? What is it that we have done that would cause you to do something like this to me? Right? Sister Sharon, can you read chapter number 20, verse number 11 or 10 and 11?
Okay. Genesis chapter 20, verse 10 and 11.
Mhm.
Abimelech went on asking Abraham, "Whatever could have caused you to do such a thing?" Abraham replied, "It was because I thought there could not possibly be any fear of God in this place, so they will kill me in order to get to my wife."
Right. So Abraham is saying, I didn't recognize anything here that would tell me that you fear the Most High. There's nothing here that I see. You would take my wife and you would kill me. So obviously he had an awareness about what it was to fear the Most High. Fearing the Most High, everyone, doesn't begin with Moses. It doesn't begin with Moses. Okay? It doesn't begin with Moses, and it's not going to end with Moses. There's something that the Most High has given to us inherently that we should have fear. Okay. So Abraham is telling him, hey, I don't see any fear. But here's the deal. When she just read, it says, well, what would cause you to do this? In the Hebrew, it doesn't say that. Okay. I'll tell you what it means in a second. The fear means a flowing of the insides. Because when we're talking about the root of this word, it means to throw, right? So that's the action. So one can throw their hand, they can throw an arrow, the rivers are like throwing water, right? They're flowing, right? And so when someone gets afraid and they're really afraid, their insides start flowing, like the blood in you starts flowing all around because you're nervous, your heart rate goes up, you're terrified, you're in complete dread. Okay. So when we're talking about fearing the Most High, he's not talking about just from an intellectual level. He's not talking about, and look who we got coming to Yah Ra Yah. Her root of her name is to fear. So what we're talking about is not fearing Yah from an intellectual level. We're talking about fearing Yah from a biological level. Okay. To be afraid. So it doesn't begin, our fear for Yah doesn't begin when we get to the 10 words or the judgments or the mishpatim or the kukim or the moedim. Our fear begins with Yah just from the fact of who he is right now. Okay. So I want to share with you the fear that we see in our Torah and also what we saw in our Haftarah. Abraham, this was the whole purpose of why the Most High wanted to bring Abraham into this land. It's not just to give it to him and not just to make a covenant and cause his descendants. And remember, he told Sarah, you think it's too hard for me for you to bring forth a child in your old age and she ain't never had one? You think that's impossible? You think that's a miracle or something wondrous? You think that's a hard thing or difficult for me to do? That's not difficult for the Most High. It's not, but he's looking for something else. Descendants are not hard for Yah. Stars are not hard for Yah. It's not difficult at all. The Most High wants to know something. And what he wants to know is whether or not we fear him. So for now, he says, I know that you are a man who fears me. This is the Malach of Yahweh speaking to Abraham after he performed what he did. He said, because you have not withheld your son, your only son from me. Okay. I have bold right there, withheld and only, because those are two words that we need to talk about. Okay. Because if we're talking about, I know that you fear me, then of course, then that means that there's things that you and I have to demonstrate to prove that you and I fear Yah. Okay. So fear is not something that's abstract. Fear is something that can be known. And you know when someone fears Yah, like Abraham knew that Abimelech didn't fear him and his people didn't fear the Most High. And Abimelech told the Most High, we're righteous. He said, no, no, you're not. No, you're not. So fear has to be demonstrated. When it talked about this word withheld, it really bothered me. Okay. To restrain, you didn't withhold your son, you didn't restrain your son. And I looked that up in Hebrew and it's talking about, I won't give you the word, it's too many Hebrew words. I'll just give you the understanding. What he's saying is, you did not leave anything behind. You didn't leave anything behind. You did not cover up anything. Okay. You didn't cover up anything. And the answer or the the greater understanding of him saying that you didn't hold anything back from me and that you didn't cover anything, you revealed everything to me. Okay. You're only, that doesn't say in Hebrew only, it says Yakidaka. Okay. Talking about that which you've been unified with. And we get that word unification from our word ikad. Okay. Okay. It's called Yahid Daka. Okay. That's what the word is, Yahidaka. Yes, Mashal.
Well, that would be misleading if that translation, because we know Abraham had Ishmael before he had Isaac. We also
Yes.
know that Isaac is the through the promised seed, right?
Yes.
However, the Most High still recognized Ishmael as
His
Abraham's seed.
son. Yeah, he's his firstborn out of that woman. Yes. See, so Mashalo is bringing out a great point because this is something that they use too to say that your only son, and then they go to the New Testament and said, "Your only son, you're my only begotten," right? Ignoring the fact that Israel is Yahweh's son, and Yah does have children; he has sons and daughters. Okay, but going back to the point of what the word is, the word itself is called ekad, and this is the root. The three letters that we talk about. Everything else is a prefix and a suffix to tell you about the person who's actually doing this and what it is and who they are, right? Third person, first person, second person. Is it you or is it us? Is it singular or is it plural? So in Hebrew, if you know the root words, or there's just the three letters that we have right here, then that would tell you all you really need to know about what the root is. What's the main idea of this? So what he's telling us, when I said that you should not withhold, he didn't withhold, or he didn't. He uncovered everything. Everything that he did was saying that you've been unified with your son. Okay, that's what uni is. Unified, it means one, right? Unified or unification. Okay, so it's not like he just loved him, he was unified with him, right? He's unified. That uni right there is the oneness, and that's what akkad is. Akkad means one. Okay, but it's interesting when you look at the word akkad. Okay, how does something become one? Well, when you look at that word, the first letter is the aleph, which is strength. The second letter is the kate, which is a wall. Okay. And what's the third letter? Akkad.
Dalit.
It's a dalit.
did.
Yep, it's a dalit, and it's a door. Okay. Okay. So we had in our Torah portion about the door of the tent. Abraham came out of the door of the tent. Uh, Lot came out when he brought them to his house. He closed the door behind him. When Elisha was performing uh, the resurrection of the dead, which we're going to get to in a second, he closed the door behind him. In our Haftarah, when the woman was told in order to, take the oil and perform that miracle, that in order to get that oil, make sure that you close the door behind you and don't let anyone in and see what you're doing. Okay. So the idea of a door is talking about this unification. Okay. So so him and his son are one, they're unified. They're one in purpose, they're one in thought. Everything that Abraham wanted his son to know, he told his son, and that's what it was. But Yah is saying, guess what? I see now that you didn't even though you're unified with him, and you guys, and talks about unification, I really didn't explain that right. When you got the door to the tent, the door has to be opened in order for things to be unified. So there's the tent. These doors right here have to be open in order for the inside to be unified with the outside. So if someone's in a tent, the tent door is closed, and they're not unified with anyone. They're a cod. Okay, I mean, excuse me, not a cod. They're separate. So in Akkad is an idea of opening the door Okay. Opening the strong door. And then you're unifying the inside here with that which is on the outside here. You guys understand that concept? So you come to my house, the door is locked. Like Lot was in his house and he closed the door. He's not unified with those people. There's a separation that's being made. If the door is open, he's unified. And that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to unify with him. They wanted to come in and take him, rape everybody, and do the things that they're doing. Okay. But he's being separated from them. Okay. The woman who's doing the miracle with the oil, her sons are in the house handing her vessels, and the door is closed. There's no unification. So it's telling us something about miracles, about how things are done. It's telling us something about, when resurrection was performed, how he closed the door. It's something very sacred about these times that something has to be closed, and there's then others when things are open where they have to be revealed. Okay. So here's what I'm trying to get us to understand. When you and I are unified with something and we're holding back something, then that means, and we're holding it back from him, we think that Yah doesn't know it, and he does. Just like he knows that we fear him, he knows if we don't fear him. So part of fear is revealing things. Part of fear, Yah, means to be open with the Most High and to be transparent. And part of Yah and being with Yah means that you can't withhold anything back from him. Otherwise, there's not a real relationship there. And that's what the Most High wanted to know. He wanted to know not if he can trust Abraham, he wanted to know whether or not he would fear him. And he said, and how does he demonstrate this? He said, you listen to my voice. You listen to what I've asked you. You've done what I've asked you to do. See? Just like you have with the woman and the prophet, where he told her to go get the vessels so she can take care of herself. She listened to his voice. Okay. Let's get into that. That's the widow. Okay. Your servant, my husband, died, she said, and you know that he feared Yahweh. Now her creditor has come to take my two children, meaning her sons, as his slaves, because that was the custom. If you didn't have any way to pay your debt, your children were going into slavery. Okay. But the key is that she feared and he feared. So the servant of Yahweh, okay, has to fear Yah. Abraham could not be an effective servant of the Most High if he did not have fear. So in order to qualify someone to be in the role or responsibility as a servant, or even be next to the Most High, or receive anything from the Most High, someone has to be able to be trusted to know that they fear him. I have this word Za'akwa on the side of the widow because Za'akwa means that she cried. She cried out to Elisha. And remember, Elisha's name means Yahweh hears my cry. That's what his name means. Okay. So again, the connection is telling us that in order for Yah to hear us, is connected to our fear. If he knows that we fear him, he'll answer our call when we cry out to him. He'll answer us. If you don't fear Yahweh, you're getting nothing from Yahweh. If you don't fear Yahweh, you're not qualified to be a servant of the Most High. If you withhold anything or anyone from him, you and I are not qualified. See? So the whole idea of hiding things in our lives and still wanting to be who we want to be, right? So it might not be a person. It actually can be a thing. It can actually be oneself. It could be an attitude. It could be a behavior. It could be money. It could be wealth. It could be whatever it is. Whatever it is that would cause you not to listen and obey Yah's voice, Yahweh is going to find out. So I'm here today to encourage all of us, including myself, because I asked the question, Yah, what is it that I have withheld from you? What is it? Who am I holding on to and trying to control and make it still mine where you're not the master? If you ask me to do anything, I should have the ability in me to fear you to do whatever you ask, and whatever you ask me to do, I need to do. That's fear. Okay. And then if that is the case, then perhaps Yahweh will hear my cry. Okay. Also, too, we have here the Shumanite woman. I have the word here, and you know it, shalom, because she used this word, right? You may not see it in your English, but she used it twice. The first time she uses when they asked her, because she was showing a great deal of hospitality. I mean, that's a theme that we see with Abraham and Sarah. We see that in the young man, they prepared a meal, wash your feet, very hospitable. Let me get you something to drink, and so forth and so on. We talked about that in the past. We talked about how when Lot came, he did exactly the same that Abraham did. Hey, come, let me send to my house. Let's have a mishteh. Let's have a feast. Let me get you some bread, and come and lodge here tonight. And don't stay out here. Come out. And he kept pressing them and pressing and pressing them. Yeah, hospitality is part of it. We've learned that in the past in our Torah portion. And Yah has revealed something different now. Now we can see something different. Now we see the Yara. We see the fear of Yah. So when he said, well, is there anything I can do for you because you've been so kind to me? Very hospitable. She made him a room and everything, right? Let me show you right quick. And she said, no, I don't need anything. I'm good. He said, you want to, talk to the king or commanders or anybody? He said, no, I'm good. I'm shalom. I'm good. I want to dwell among my people, right? He said, I can see, this is what she said about him. I can see that this is a kadosh man of Elohim who keeps stopping at our place. She's talking to her husband. She said, nah, please, let's build him a little room on the roof. We'll put a bed and a table for it, and for him, and a stool and a candlestick, and then whenever he comes to visit us, he can stay there. So we see the idea too that he had a door to his room too, right? We see that she provided a place of rest for him, but also what we understand is she saw something. She recognized, right? So it's known she saw it. Yah saw when Abraham did what he did. He saw it. He wanted to see it. It wasn't that the Most High just said, he said, I know. Well, he's always known. How do you know that he always know? He told the men that were there, hey, should I hide from Abraham what I'm going to do? Considering that he's going to be a great nation and he's going to teach his children to, obey what I said and guard my path and my way. They're going to obey the commandment, and he's going to teach them righteousness. That's there too. So Yah knows this. Okay. So this woman was able to see that this man was something different about him. He's a man of Elohim, right? So she wanted to do something. And she was at peace with just knowing that, hey, I can recognize that this man, I know this, I can see it. So this whole belief system about, hey, I want to believe she believed that he was a nice man, or the widow can believe. No, she had to obey what she was instructed. Abraham had to listen and obey what he was told. There is no way possible that you and I can go around and say that you and I fear the Most High Yah and we're not willing to listen to the commandment. Shalom.
It says in chapter 22, verse 18, all the nations of earth shall bless themselves by your descendants because you have obeyed my command.
There you go. There it is. And then when it talks about them bless themselves, they're not taking from you people. They're going to be bowing and causing themselves to bend the knee to you. That's a hitpael. They're going to cause themselves to come to you and to bend their knee with a gift in their hand because of what your father did. Your father feared him. And if we're his children, it said he's going to teach his children in his house after him to fear me. So Abraham understood it. You understand? This woman, the Shumanite woman, the last time that Shalom was mentioned is when her son died. When they asked her, what's wrong? Because Elisha didn't know. The Most High didn't reveal it to him. He said, what's wrong with this woman? He said, I don't know. The Most High didn't reveal it to me. And he had his His servant boy go up and say, hey, what's going on? She said nothing. She said, everything is good. Shalom. She had confidence. See? So when we have an ability to have confidence, we can go to Yah, we can go to someone to intercede for us when we have confidence that we know that we have done what is right. We know who we are. We know what we stand for. We know it's known. We have to stop playing games, sacrificing offerings. So now we have to understand why Abraham was told to bring your son up here to Mount Moriah, called Moriah, which means that he sees from seeing Yah. Okay, he's seeing, right? So we're going to talk about the sacrificial system. We're going to find out whether something is true or false. I was asked the other day, why do you keep bringing up the New Testament? I'm bringing up the New Testament, everyone, because you need to find out whether or not they're telling you something is true or is false. Here's our two comparisons. The Tanakh says sacrifice and grain offerings you don't want. Burnt offerings and sin offerings you don't demand. Instead, you have given me open ears. New Testament, in fact, according to the Torah, almost everything is purified with blood. Indeed, without the shedding of blood, there is no forgiveness of sins. Without the shedding of blood, there is no redemption of sins. Why is this mentioned? Well, simply because they're going to bring up the fact that the Most High is using the situation with Abraham and Isaac to justify the death of the so-called Savior in the New Testament. On your right-hand side of the screen, I have there several passages that you should write down to use as your artillery when someone tries to come against you and try to tell you something about the sacrificial system. 1 Kings chapter number 8, verse 46 through 50 tells you that we're all sinners and all you have to do is admit and confess that you sinned against the Most High and you turn back to him wholeheartedly and he'll forgive you. No sacrifice needed, no shedding of blood, and you'll be forgiven. No, you'll be purified. Okay? Second Chronicles 6 and 36 through 39. Same thing, but this time it tells you that in order for them to know your name, they will do the same thing. They will say that they're sorry when they're in their exile. Ezekiel 18, 1 through 4, 9 through 23, same chapter, tells you that Yah will forgive the wicked without any shedding of innocent blood. 2 Samuel chapter number 12, verse number 13 deals with Dawid when he sinned against the Most High by committing adultery and having someone killed. He had a wholehearted confession, and the prophet told him, Yahweh has forgiven you. And last but least, one of my favorites, people who don't even know the Most High. They turned and thought about their ways, and the Most High forgave that whole entire city. Yes, Azania or Elder Bill.
I just also wanted to say what happened to the prophet Yeshayahu or Isaiah when he's greeted by the Malachach, and he's saying that how is he supposed to speak to this people because he's an unclean man around unclean people in his mouth,
Yes.
and the coal was put to his lips, and he was
Oh,
purified.
that's a great one. That's better. That's even a better. What she saw on everyone is chapter number 6 of Isaiah. Chapter number 6. I don't have it up here on the screen, but that's an excellent one where all of his sins, he said, he said, man, I'm a man of unclean lips. Unclean lips? How can I speak? I'm a man. I'm coming from people who got the filthy tongue too. They got a foul language. How can I even speak? And he was dumped down. He just felt he couldn't say anything. And then there was a Malach that took one of the coals out of the altar and placed it upon his tongue in a vision and purified him. So he would be able to speak and go out and speak for the Most High. Yes, Mashal.
Isaiah 55, verse 7 also speaks of what these verses are speaking of.
Yes, he's giving reference to when Isaiah says, the Most High says, hey, I will freely forgive you if you just change your mind. So basically, what all these have in common, everyone, is someone having a change of mind. And, if we want to get emotional, we would say a change of heart. Okay. But it's really your mind, it's how you think. Okay. Just like he asked us when you guys are scattered among the nations and you start thinking about what's happened to you, you're going to come back and return to me and be wholehearted. So this is what he's telling us. So the sacrificial system about shedding blood in order to have forgiveness of sins is complete nonsense. Complete nonsense. It's not true. This is your favorite. This was the purpose of Abraham being told to bring his son with the wood up to Mount Moriah, which you call Mount Moriah. Okay. This was the test. And I'm here to tell you today, okay, that the test is the same that it was then that it is today. This is the test that you have to pass. If you do not pass this test, then you don't fear the Most High. You have to give up what you have unified yourself with. Right? You want eternal life. So you'll accept the innocent to be put to death for you. It's the test. After these things, Elohim tested Abraham. He said to him, Abraham, and he answered, Here I am. Here I am. That here I am, that hineni. It's not just here I am. It's basically saying, I'm at your service. What do you need me to do? And we know the story. All right. But let's find out what was the purpose. The purpose of the test was this. Abraham went and took the ram because the Most High stopped him and told him through a Malach of Yahweh, do not touch the boy. Don't touch him. So the Most High is not interested in human sacrifice. This was to set the tone for all generations that he can teach his children that you are never to sacrifice a human being. The Most High will give what he wants. Abraham and Yitzchak, listen, Abraham went and took the ram and offered it up as a burnt offering in the place of his son. Abraham called the place Yahweh Yireh. See that Yirah? The Yireh? Okay, the Yireh is not Yahweh fears, is Yahweh what? Yahweh sees. Yahweh will see it. He will see to it. Yahweh will provide. See what? Provide what he wants. As it is this day, on the mountain, Yahweh is what? Seen. Question. Did Abraham see Yahweh on the mountain? That's written in English. You guys are probably scared. Like, I don't know, Akika getting up this stuff.
No.
Not the way that we would think. So for us, we're thinking he actually visually saw him. No, what he recognized, because that's what seeing is. It's a vision, it's to our perception. What he perceived. Yes, mashallah.
You know what you just brought, and even on the slide, the Navi. You know, in the movie Avatar, they call themselves the Navi people, and their favorite quote is "I see you."
Mm. Ooh, deep. Deep. Yeah, the Navi. So he's a prophet. Abraham is a prophet. He brings this when the Most High has a ram, in the bush, in the thicket, it said and offered it up as a burnt offering. It's missing information. It's just making you think that Abraham is the one who just took it and offered it up. Doesn't say that. It says they offered it up. Meaning Abraham and Yitzchak.
Wayalehu.
Thank you. You looked it up. You got it. Why? Yeah. What? Alehu? Is it? Yeah.
Yes, Alehu.
Alehu.
Wayalehu.
Alehu. Yes. The U on the end is they, and the yod in the front is he, meaning masculine. So masculine plural. They offered. So not just Abraham. So this again changes the narrative. So if Abraham and Yitzchak are the ones who are offering it, then it was a joint. Now they're united again. They're back being united again in what? In thought. So Abraham knew that, guess what? The Most High doesn't want a human sacrifice. Yitzchak knew that the Most High doesn't want a human sacrifice. He doesn't want to sacrifice. When it says that Yahweh sees, Yahweh will see to it. So seeing is different. Is our perception of seeing is different from Yah's. And it's different from what Abraham understood. The Most High had brought him here to see what it was that Yahweh wanted. So he can teach his children from generation to generation after generation what it is that, how you really supposed to see this. Because he didn't physically see Yahweh there. What's the evidence of that, Akika? A Malach of Yahweh spoke to him out from the heavens and said, Abraham, Abraham, stop. Don't put your hand on the boy. Then it came back a second time. Now I know. Now I know that you fear me. I know now. So Yah has a Malach speaking on behalf of himself. You see? Shemuel is a prophet. He's a Navi. The question is, where we're talking about the sacrificial system, the question is, does Yahweh take pleasure in burnt offerings and sacrifices? As in obeying what Yahweh says? So when someone's telling you, well, where's your offering? You guys are saying that you don't have any offering. We don't need an offering. What we need to do is, Yahweh will take pleasure in you and I when we obey him. Yahweh takes pleasure in us when we fear him. So fear is directly connected to obedience. This is what you and how you'll be known to Yah that you fear him. When you obey him, this is when you will see Yahweh. It'll be demonstrated in your life. It will be known in your life. There will be evidence in your life. Surely obeying is better than sacrifice. It's better than sacrifice. It gives y'all more pleasure than burnt offerings. Heeding orders and commandments than the fat of rams. Yahweh did not want the ram. Yahweh wanted obedience. Yahweh wanted him to listen to his commandment. That's the whole entire purpose of the exercise or the test. And we are the descendants of this man and men and women. We should be able to pick up what was laid down, telling us that Yahweh only takes pleasure in obedience. And when we listen to his voice, that is your proof that you fear Yah. Another Navi, Hosea, meaning salvation, has said, and by the way, Shemuel means that he listens. El listens. Our mighty one listens. El, and this Shemu right here, he listens. You understand? Why? He said, because he gave an order to Shaul the king, and he listened. But Shaul listened to what the people were saying. Shaul listened to how others were telling him what they thought should be done. He didn't listen to the Most High. He listened to himself. He listened to others. That is not indicative of somebody that fears Yah. We're all under the command of Yahweh. Hosea, salvation. What did he say? He declared to the children of Israel, dealing with salvation, what does Yahweh want? Yah says, for what I desire is mercy, not sacrifices. Knowledge of Elohim more than burnt offerings, but They, just like men, have broken the covenant. They have been faithless in dealing with me. We have to ask ourselves the question, do we fear Yahweh? Is Yahweh Yireh apparent to us? Is it known? Does he know that we fear him? Does he know that we obey him? Yes or no? He says he does things just because he wants to see it for himself. He didn't have to go down to Sodom and Gomorrah in order to find out whether or not these people were doing. He was just answering a cry of the people that were being mistreated down there. The Most High didn't have to come down and say, well, I'm going to send someone. When he said, I'm coming down, he said, I'm going to send somebody. I want to know like he don't know. I want to know if they're going to fear me. Like you saw in the book of Deuteronomy, where he says, I had tested them and took away their bread from them and hungered them in order to find out whether or not they would listen to me, if they would fear me. God knows. So instead of us trying to figure out and search for an offering, a sacrifice of, especially of a human being, we should delight in what he delights in, which is mercy. We should be in pursuit of the knowledge of Elohim more than trying to figure out where's our offering coming from, who is going to go on our behalf. Human sacrifice. This is what the Christian narrative has tried to present. This is what the Muslim narrative has said. This is what all these other religions have tried to get us to accept and to buy, in the fact that the Most High will delight and accept human sacrifice, when the Most High is not asking for a human sacrifice. Yirmiyahu, the Navi, the one who revealed the truth, is telling us that the Most High said that the children of Israel, is more specifically the tribe of Judah, have filled this place with the blood of innocent people. They have built the high places of Baal, meaning the Lord, in order to burn up their children in the fire as burnt offerings to Baal, to the Lord, something I never ordered or said. It never entered my mind. This ain't the only place. I could take you to places where the Most High said, I don't justify the wicked for the death of the innocent. I hate those who shed innocent blood. They know what it is. Proverbs 6:16. They know it. But guess what? They're going to get you that all of a sudden the Most High has changed his mind now. He wants the blood of the innocent, which they would call this guy right here. He wants him instead of your obedience. Have you noticed when we, or anyone who's been part of this cult or this pagan religion, that we would say that he's accepted the blood offering, and we're drenched and covered in the blood of Christ and the innocent, and that's where we get our righteousness, instead of knowledge of Elohim through listening to what he has to say, listening to his voice, obeying his voice, heeding the commandment of the Most High. The New Testimony, which I would call the New Testament, says this. This is what this guy said to his people. Whoever eats my flesh, meaning my body, and drinks my blood, his innocent blood, has eternal life. That is, I will raise him up on the last day. That's a guarantee. If you eat my body and if you drink my blood. Because why? My flesh is true food and my blood is true drink. Whoever eats my flesh and drinks my blood lives in me and I live in him. Oh, no, he's not saying that like that. He's not really saying that. What he's saying is that if we believe that he gave his life for us and on our behalf, then we're going to be fine. And all we need to do is accept that he gave the blood of the innocent, then we'll be justified. We're wicked as hell and we could kill, rape, and molest and commit adultery and ain't nothing going to happen to us. He's going to forgive us because of his blood and we're going to get eternal life. We're going to live with the King. Sister Sharon. Proverbs chapter number 17, verse number 15, please.
Okay. Proverbs 17, verse 15 says, He who justifies the wicked and he who condemns the righteous, both alike are an abomination to Adonai.
Thank you. So, first part is he who justifies the wicked. So, according to the New Testament, the shedding of innocent blood will give you eternal life and you will be justified because Christ, out of his own mouth, said, I didn't come for the righteous, but I came for the wicked and the sinner. He's justifying sinners and wickedness and the people that are in their wickedness. That is an abomination to the Most High. Whoever condemns the righteous are both alike to an abomination. So, according to what has been said, God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son to whoever believeth shall not perish but have everlasting life. I'm going to give you this everlasting life, but your condition is you got to eat my flesh. So the question is, if the Most High wanted to give a human sacrifice, then Most High was saying, I'm okay with an abomination because it said, he who justifies the wicked, that's giving the innocent to justify them. And he who condemns the righteous, well, he condemned his righteous son. Both are like an abomination to the Most High. So are you saying that the Most High would commit an abomination or allow an abomination to happen, the very thing that he said that he hates? That he said it never entered in his mind? Yes.
Wanted
Elder
to
Bill.
say that, the Most High says, I think it's in Yerma, I'm trying to remember what chapter, which, he says he never even thought that the idea never came to his mind to sacrifice a child. And so it's like, and when the Most High goes on about the most evil things that our ancestors did, it is they even sacrificed their sons and daughters to demons. It says that in the Torah. And
Yes.
so, and yet, just like you said, they turn around and they they accuse the Most High of doing what he deemed very, very evil. And I noticed, like, if you look into the world, it's like the writer Toni Morrison, she really didn't have success until she wrote a tale about beloved, a tale where child sacrifice was glorified,
Mm.
and it's what this world does. And it's the reason why so many children are even missing right now. But
Mm-hmm.
never anywhere is it said that it is holy. In fact, I think, it comes to mind where the Most High says, woe to those that call, evil good and good evil.
Evil. Yes. Light for darkness and light, darkness for light.
Yes.
So yes, thank you. So what she's bringing out, the fact is the question that Abraham said, that in my eyes I can see in this place that there is no fear of Elohim. So if we are following what they would call the new testimony, because this is a testimony from John, he gave a testimony and said that this is what his Savior had said, that this is what you need to do. And so we can see right there that that is what they would call cannibalism. The Most High would never, ever, ever allow human sacrifice, period. So my final question to you is, so why did Yahweh appear to our father Abraham? Somebody tell me now that you've seen and heard the things that you heard about the language that you heard in your Torah portion this week, that you've seen about these sacrifices and why he brought them there and told him, hey, now I know. Go ahead, Mashal.
To that question, I would say it was just a matter of time before he appeared to Abraham, because from the beginning we can see how he's been causing things
Mhm.
in Abraham's life repetitively. So it was just a build up to the point where he came, to appear to him. It was just a
Mhm.
matter of time.
Excellent. Because that's true. And as you can see that there's a variety of different reasons. Okay. So the end is it's like, okay, well, now that I started a covenant with you for the land and descendants, I started covenant with the circumcision. I want to make sure I lock into you and your family. I want you to be the head of the nations. I want your seed. I don't want your oldest seed, which is Ishmael, to rule. I want your son to rule, and I want whatever comes out of him to rule, and for them to take over the gates of their enemies. I want a relationship with your family. I want you to take responsibility for this. I chose you this, and at the end of the day, is the Most High appeared to him is to find out whether or not the man feared him and whether or not he would obey his voice. That was the whole purpose. That's the whole person of Wayera, okay, which is to, and then he appeared, okay, to find out. As a matter of fact, he told him, Lech Lecha, not only in chapter number 12, but in chapter number 22, he says the same words, Lech Lecha. So him telling him to leave his father's house was to bring him to this final destination, to prove whether or not he was worthy, okay, of getting all that the Most High said. He said, now I know for sure. Now I'm definitely going to do this, right? Because this man was able to demonstrate that, hey, I'm able to do what I'm told. And even in spite of what is being asked of me, it wasn't the Most High wanted, he didn't want Isaac. If he wanted him, he would have had him. He didn't want him. He didn't want a human sacrifice. He just used him to find out, because that's who he was united with. That's who he really cared about. That's who he really loved. That's who he cherished. That's who's his main deal was him. That's where his heart was and his mind. But we can see that even though his mind and his heart was with his son, he did not allow that to interrupt his relationship and his obedience to the Most High. So, what are we to learn from this as the children of Abraham, or as you would say, the children of the Most High? We're to learn that you and I must learn how to fear Yahweh, not only intellectually, not only grammatically, not only from a Hebraic perspective. We need to let the insides flow when we think about him. When we're talking about him, I want to again make sure that I warn us that we need to be more careful about talking about his name. When we mention the name of Yah, don't let it be just in a basic conversation. Let it be glorifying to him. Because in our covenant, he does tell us, right? Lo ta'aseh, you shall never yisa or tisa de et Shem Yahweh Eloheka de la Shua, meaning we should never lift up his name as emptiness and void and vanity. Because he says, Ki lo yanakwe Yahweh et aser de yisa de et de Shemo de la Shua, meaning that I will never hold anyone who does this guiltless. Yes, Mashal.
I do have a question. Uh, any anything that the Most High has asked of our patriarchs and our prophets, was it was there any convenience to them? Was it of any convenience to them?
In the sense of what, like when no, it's very. What I find is very difficult. I
Okay,
I find that when we look at Abraham's life, when we look at what happened to him, his wife was taken again away from him, and we
right.
see that it was in that time it was he had a time of difficulty. We see when his son was sent away from him, he thought that was evil in his eyes. We see that he was being challenged on multiple fronts. We see that he was afraid where he was living. He just destroyed many years before that a whole bunch of kings. You know, we
Okay.
see that. We see that the people that he lived around, that he was a stranger among them. And it was very difficult for him. So, yeah, challenges are
So,
going to be part of it. Yes.
so I say that to say to everyone that's listening, it is convenient for us to read English. We need
Yes.
to forego that convenience and really learn this language to really understand what the
Mm-hmm.
Most High has been trying to convey to us, or not trying, but that he's the message he wants us to have.
Mm-hmm. That's a very good point. It would behoove us because at least what we're trying to understand, everyone, is like we don't have to be masters at speaking it and all that, but what we can do is understand how it's being communicated, the verbs. If you know, okay, so knowing that nouns are one thing, right? So we can know the nouns, hey, this is a tent, this is a priest, this is this, nouns. But when we're talking about verbs, you want to know if anything in your study, you have access to Bible Hub and all that, even though, like I said, you got to be able to shake that out too, because that's where I found the problem. Bible Hub listed as he, as an individual, a Hitpael, and it's not a Hitpael. They're lying. So you got to know, well, verify. I told someone yesterday, like, hey, you know what? I think it was you, Michelle. I don't ever want you to just listen to what I'm saying and take it for face value. Like, hey, this is it. No. Go and research it and find out, is he what he said, is it true? So just take those two letters and look it up. Hebrew grammar, third person masculine plural. What is it? And it'll tell you. And it'll show you. And you'll be like, So don't get intimidated by it. Figure it out what it is. 3MP is not hard. Third person masculine plural. It's not hard. 3MS, third person masculine singular. It's not hard. So we have to challenge ourselves, even in the difficulty that we have. I mean, my wife is not being taken from me by a king, and I got to wait for her and all this sort of thing. And the Most High has to threaten to kill everybody in the house and all this kind of stuff. I might not be the one out there doing all the different things that he was doing, but I still have my challenges, and so do you. So let's make sure that we're able to get up to the challenge because we have to pass this test. The test is he wanted to know whether or not Abraham was going to do what he says. And he chose that. He killed two birds with one stone. I want to show him I'm not interested in human sacrifice. Him and his son are going to offer up a ram. Because the son asked him, where's the lamb? He said, the Most High will provide. He already said that before he got there. See? But he didn't know. He thought it was going to be his son. And it wasn't. He perceived that it was going to be his son. And it wasn't. Listen to what I just said. Abraham told his son, the Most High is going to provide a lamb. The Most High didn't tell him to bring a lamb or anything. He said, come and offer up your son. He thought that that was what it was going to be. So when his son asked him, he perceived that this is what it's going to be. So it's not always what you think it is. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's not always going to be what we think it is. So when the Most High is asking us to do something, often we want the answers that we want in order for us to say that we're going to do it. Instead of fearing him and trusting him and saying, he got it under control. Like the Shumanite woman. What's wrong? Shalom. Everything is shalom. Not a problem. You understand? Everybody operates differently. Not all of us are going to be, okay, I'm cool with it. Shalom, shalom. Everybody's not going to be like this. Some of us are going to be worried and crying out. The Shumanite woman did not cry out when her son died. She did not cry out. She calmly went up and said, hey, why'd you lie to me? She wasn't. Her husband asked her, what's wrong? Nothing, shalom. Matter of fact, you can see he asked her, why are you going? It ain't Shabbat. So they traveled on the Shabbat. What's wrong? It's not the new moon. So you see they traveled on new moon. See? She said, everything's good. So some of us are going to respond that way, and some of us are going to be crying out, hey, I got a problem here. They're going to take my kids. We don't have any food. We got a debt to pay. But what we perceive is not necessarily facts. That's why we have to dig in. We got to dig in. So when I'm saying, you got to test it. Test everything I tell you. And I do it because I'm your brother. But secondly, I don't want you to trust nobody. I don't want you to trust what you're hearing on YouTube. I don't want you to trust the videos because we're so complacent. We're kind of lazy. We sit back. We want people to spoon feed us. Don't let anybody tell you nothing. You question everything because what it appears may not necessarily be so. Yah will sometimes veil things like he did with the prophet so you can't see, so you can inquire. The prophet did not even know. He sent Gakazi there and said, okay, go lay my staff on him. He'll be fine. He went, ran back and said, didn't work. Elisha, y'all had to hear his cry. So what did he have to do? He had to lay on the boy. He put his nose to nose, face to face. And if you notice that chapter number 4 and chapter number 5, they took all of our stories out of chapter 4 and chapter 5 of First Kings, okay, or Second Kings, excuse me, and they applied it to Yeshua. The whole thing about closing the door and going behind him, they took that out of our story. The laying on the boy and he coughed and he coughed a couple of times, that got out of our story. So Elisha did this before even the New Testament. So when you're reading a story about Christ doing this for somebody who died and he walked in the room and all that, that already happened. So should you and I go down and worship Elisha and say that he's our savior? He resurrected somebody from the dead. So maybe we should worship him. His name is Elisha, salvation, or he hears, Yah hears. So when Yah hears, he saves. I mean, we could spin this any way we want. Stop trusting what people are talking about. Hell, don't even believe yourself. Research it. I didn't believe myself. I looked at that thing about the third person plural and I went over and over and I looked and I looked and I went through chapter like Mashal, because I told Mashalo a little bit about it. He took it upon himself, went through all the different chapters and said, you're right. It's all there. It's all they, until we got to these two times between these Malachites, because they have an agenda. They're trying to get you to worship a man. So they want you to run down like Abraham and fall to the ground. So you know now that the Most High was not none of those men. He did not bow and he did not worship and fall to the ground. That's not our Elohim. Okay? Any questions? And by the way, Sister Sharon, thank you so much for your participation today and being my reader. And thank you, all of you, for your questions.
I just wanted to mention that the people that do this intentionally, they know the power in calling on the Most High. And they want you to call on an idol because this is what happened. This is how we went into captivity, calling on idols. But
Yes.
whenever we call on the Most High, is when we get our salvation.
Yes. But remember, when we call on him, I want to be clear. You cannot call on Yah and expect him to answer if you didn't have any fear. And so I asked the question, what's the beginning of the fear of Yahweh?
Wisdom.
Wisdom, Sister Fam. Ding, 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 ding. That is the beginning to fear Yahweh, is the wisdom. And what's wisdom? If you can remember what I told you, it's very simple. What is wisdom?
Asking questions.
Thank you. Sister Sharon, ding, 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 ding. The power to ask questions. That's wisdom. That's wisdom. You want to ask questions. So when you and I are in search of the truth, you're not just going to allow somebody to tell you nothing, especially when you've been lied to. We've been lied to. So right now, I'm a little skittish. I can't allow anybody to continue to lie to me. I'm not doing it no more. I'm not. And I'm trying to get all of us to understand. I don't want you to do this. I don't want you to do that either. Because even if I make a mistake, I don't want you to turn around and blame the Most High. Guess what? Akika, he made a mistake, and now I listen to him. So now I'm up short because he told me that fearing you was just reading the Torah. Right? Is that what it is?
Nope.
No. Akika told us that fearing you is to obey and listen to your voice, which you said, and I verified it because I went and I wrote it down and I read it for myself. And guess what? I don't need to kill anyone innocent. Only a wicked person would do something like that, you guys. Okay? You don't want to be part of that because the Most High is going to unalive everyone who's participated in that. I want to thank my my attendees for watching on YouTube. Thank you so much today. Shabbat shalom to you.